All right, Nuggets fans, welcome into Pickaxe and Roll, brought to you by our good friends over at SCL Mortgage. I am your host, Ryan Blackburn at NBA Blackburn on Twitter, part of the Mile High Sports Podcast Network, and I am here. I am ready to break down Game 2. We're going to do a preview here, and it's not going to go too terribly long, but we're going to have a fun preview, I think, of what I expect from the game tonight between the Denver Nuggets and the LA Clippers. Denver obviously up 1-0 in this series, a big, massive win for Denver in Game 1 in an overtime affair. If Denver doesn't get that one, feel a lot worse about where they're at, but because they were able to get it, kind of in a much better place, I would say. And now the pressure is on LA. The fact that Denver has things that they can improve and will try to improve, that's great. But really, it's about LA. It's about what they have done or have not done in terms of getting ready for Game 2 and making sure that they are better. So Denver is in a pretty good spot here, and we'll see if they could take advantage of it. We'll talk about Aaron Gordon. We'll talk about Game 2 adjustments. We'll talk about Jokic. We'll talk about what the Clippers are going to do. But either way, I'm your host, Ryan Blackburn. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you can. Would really, really appreciate it as we continue to grow the program. Doing my best, having a good time, bouncing around, and just think putting out some pretty good content here on the Pickaxe side of things. So everybody, let me know if you are enjoying the show, and we'll continue to get it better. All right. One thing that has kind of gone under the radar a little bit, Aaron Gordon scored 25 points. And some people are like, how could that have possibly gone under the radar, Ryan? Like, aren't you doing your job? How could you not have focused on Aaron Gordon getting 25 points? And I didn't. And one of the big reasons is that in all of the hoopla of the way that the Clippers were guarding Jokic and Murray and how Porter was responding and Russell Westbrook and just a variety of things that were kind of ping-ponging around, Aaron Gordon just doing his job, just kicking butt, doing exactly what he needs to do. Outscored Kawhi Leonard on fewer shots, just did exactly what was asked of him, and ultimately had a fantastic game overall. 25 points, 8 of 14 from the field, 1 of 3 from 3, including a massive 3 in the fourth quarter, middle of the fourth quarter, to kind of keep Denver close. 8 of 10 from the free throw line, 5 offensive rebounds. I think that Aaron Gordon will once again be key in oh God, Mark Davis is reffing tonight. We'll circle back around to that one. Oh Jesus. Okay. Yeah, we'll circle back around to Mark Davis. I think that Aaron Gordon is a key for Denver tonight. I think that Aaron Gordon, once again, because Kawhi Leonard continues to try to get away from him on the offensive end where Kawhi is trying to score, a lot of the time Kawhi Leonard is doing everything that he can to get the spacing and to get the size advantage and to do everything that you need to do in order to get a mid-range shot off over somebody that is smaller. And a lot of the time it was Christian Braun that he was seeking out in the clutch, not necessarily like because he had a great matchup against Christian Braun. I actually thought that Christian held up pretty well against him. But it wasn't Aaron Gordon, and Jamal Murray wasn't Aaron Gordon, and Russell Westbrook wasn't Aaron Gordon. And so Denver was in a pretty good position where Kawhi didn't have a lot of great places to go. And ultimately Denver did a lot of great things to kind of bother him. But on Aaron specifically, I want to focus on his offense because I'm an offensive guy. I think that one of the reasons why Michael Porter struggled as much as he did was because Kawhi Leonard was guarding him early on in this game. And then once Russell Westbrook was in the game and the Clippers kind of changed up their matchups, they started putting Kawhi on Jamal Murray later in the game, using his size, his athleticism, his physicality, and just his overall defensive acumen to try to bother Jamal as much as possible. I don't think that that was what actually bothered Jamal. Personally, I honestly think that Jamal just missed shots and he'll make shots going forward, or he'll miss shots going forward, but it wasn't anything that the Clippers did specifically. But what I do think is that when Kawhi Leonard is guarding Michael Porter, it is extremely reminiscent of Jaden McDaniels guarding Michael Porter in last year's series. It's either him or Nicholas Batum is on him, and Denver should be getting just a little bit more space, but Batum is very smart. Or it's like Derek Jones Jr. or somebody like that. But when it's James Harden that is guarding Michael Porter, when it's Norman Powell that is guarding Michael Porter, it's a little different. And I think one of the things that Aaron Gordon can continue to do and help out the team is by punishing the Clippers every single time they put James Harden on him. Every single time, whether it's by Harden having to compete athletically and physically, by just battling on the glass, whether it's taking him one-on-one, whether it's back cutting him to death and just putting him into a really tough position, having to guard on the interior. Harden can do some things, but he's not great. And when you have such a high burden like he does on the offensive end, you want to save some of that energy on the defensive end. I think that if Gordon can continue to push, if he can continue to do these things, then that would really, really help everybody else out. Now, Joe Rep in the comments says AG is on the injury report for the calf. I did notice that. The Clippers don't have anybody on the injury report. The Nuggets have Deron Holmes, who's out, but also now Aaron Gordon, who's probable. Like, he's going to play. This is not a situation where he doesn't play. But if he is impacted by the calf injury and he doesn't want to push forward that hard, then maybe there is an opportunity for the Clippers to hide James Harden on him. And that is a bad situation for Denver, because I think for guys like MPJ and Christian Brown and those kinds of players to shine in this moment, it's important for them to have a more like easy defensive matchup, because guys like Kawhi are going to be really difficult for Porter to shake free from. And I'm just curious to see how Denver approaches it, how Aaron Gordon approaches it personally. Because if he is aggressive, if he's getting Harden into foul trouble, for example, if he is forcing the switch where Kawhi then has to guard Aaron Gordon because of how good he is and how good he has been, then I would say that like Denver's in a pretty good spot at that point, just in terms of having to figure out exactly what they're supposed to do. So I'm curious to see what Denver does. Curious to see how Aaron Gordon handles it. Can he continue to maintain the physicality when he's on the injury report and there are some things that he's going to have to manage at the same time? Gordon has never really been in a situation where he has to score 20 to 25 points per game. However, if we are facing this matchup and like Jokic has Zubats and they're rotating out 2 or 3 guys to help him on a consistent basis. If Murray is getting Chris Dunn for most of the game, like he's got to be better. Like, and he will be better, I think. If Michael Porter's getting Kawhi Leonard as his primary defender, you can't really expect that much from him in terms of getting involved in the action and wanting to get Kawhi Leonard involved in defensive actions on a consistent basis. Like, that's just not necessarily a great idea. So can Christian Brown step up? Can Aaron Gordon continue to step up? Gordon was fantastic in game 1 and deserves a ton of credit. But I do think that this is something, at least, that I am monitoring, I am watching. Next thing, I want to throw this up on the screen from the preview that I put together last night. Let me see if this pops up pretty well. So put up the preview. This is the shot that Russell Westbrook made in the clutch. You've got Jokic, Murray, Gordon, Christian Brown, and Russell Westbrook on the floor. On the opposing side, you've got the starters for the Clippers, I believe. You have Chris Dunn. You have, I think Norman Powell is under the baseline there, and you've got James Harden hanging out. But you've got like if you look up at the top of the key in that number two panel, Jokic and Murray are dealing with all three of Kawhi Leonard, Ivica Zubats, and Chris Dunn at the same time. That's insane. It's an insane thing to have to deal with. But I wanted to identify this because this is kind of how the Clippers were guarding Russ. This is how they were kind of dealing with the fact that he, as a mostly non-shooter, somebody that they are okay with shooting, is out there. And so they dared him. They dared him the entire fourth quarter and the entire overtime while he was out there to be the shooter, to be the spacer. And he went 5 of 17 overall. He went 2 of 6 from 3. 2 of 6 is a pretty reasonable number. I'm not gonna hold my breath that it's gonna be that much better. But in these clutch moments where you've got 3 guys guarding Jokic and Murray, the other 3 guys for Denver have to know how to handle it. There was a possession in the OT where Russ read the double that was coming off of him, and he cut to the basket, received the ball from Jokic, and then dumped it down to Aaron Gordon in the dunker spot. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't pretty. The ball got deflected, and then Gordon had to go recover it. But that's the kind of thing that you should be looking for, attacking somebody like James Harden at the basket when you can. So there are ways to counter this. There's ways to continue to get good shots, but this wouldn't happen if Porter was on the floor, I don't think. Or it would come from a different spot. It would come from Christian Brown because they're not going to leave Michael Porter wide open. They might kind of double off of it. It's going to be very interesting to see how they handle this. But I just think that at this point, Denver has a lot of things that they're going to have to figure out and identify while Russell Westbrook is closing. You want his defense out there. You want his athleticism. You want his playmaking. You want, honestly, just his hustle. Like the ability to go get some of those offensive rebounds that he had were so important for Denver. And them being able, and especially like Gordon also did this too in the clutch, getting those extra possessions won Denver the game. It straight up did. So having a guy and having multiple guys that can be those hustlers and get you those extra possessions, extremely important. So, can Denver shoot a little bit better? Can they operate in that kind of 3-on-2 that you're seeing a little bit better? I don't know. I think that they can. They're smart. They're high IQ basketball players. Like this is something that it's a good adjustment for Denver to take into game 2. But I am curious to see how they handle it. It's going to be a lot of fun to see if they can replicate it. If it's not Russ, wouldn't surprise me if it was Peyton Watson, and it wouldn't surprise me if the Clippers kind of did the same thing, doubling off of Peyton Watson. Because like the thing you can say about Russ is you know that if the ball gets to him and it's a wide open shot and it's a corner 3, like he's shot pretty well from the corners all year, he can and should take those shots. Like I will not question that. With Peyton Watson, does he hesitate? Does he really get into that place where he's willing to take the open corner 3 with 20 seconds left in a game and you're down 1? I don't know. This is an opportunity for Denver to kind of figure some stuff out. So I'm looking forward to see who closes, who like is this game going to be as close as it was? Can Denver keep up with the Clippers when the Clippers are playing as good defense as they are? Can Murray hit some more shots? That would be that's very important as well. So we will see what happens. But tell you what, let's take a break. When we come back, we are going to chat about Nikola Jokic's defense. We will chat about the Clippers and where they can improve on the offensive end themselves. And I guess we'll talk about Mark Davis, who apparently is reffing this game. Sick. We'll be right back here on Pickaxe and Roll. All right, we are back. Pickaxe and Roll. Ryan Blackburn here. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Really quickly, want to make sure to mention the sponsor of today's video, uh, SDL Mortgage. If you're looking for a great mortgage company that you can trust, this one has hundreds of happy customers and a five-star reputation. Contact our friends over at SCL Mortgage if you're looking for a mortgage loan, if you're looking for a down payment, if you're looking for a second mortgage, if you're looking for specific financing needs, they can absolutely help you with all of the above. Call 303-790-2222 or visit myspecialmortgage.com. Okay. Jokic's defense, it's amazing. Like we've lived through this. There were a lot of I saw a lot of like not TikToks, but like short videos, like really highlighting, wow, Jokic is just so smart. Jokic is doing these things. And I'm like, yeah. Like if he wanted to do this in the regular season, he absolutely could have. And it's funny to complain a little bit about Jokic's defense at various points during the regular season, but then also be able to see him put forward this effort, put forward this level of connectivity, and just some of the the one specifically that this comment here is actually very funny. Nikola will not have a voice by the end of the playoffs. He gave an interview at the end of the game and he sounded rough. I was in the room. He sounded rough. It was like having to go back and forth between like 4 different Serbian questions and 5 different English questions was also probably rough on the brain. But yeah, that dude is stressed. That dude is talking a lot. He is communicating. It's doing a lot of the good things. So I'm glad that he's able to get to that place. He's got to train the voice in order to keep it going. Like this level of engagement and intensity from him is awesome. Like it's actually very fun to hear, to listen to. The play that I think about, the one where Christian Brown dove and saved the ball out of bounds. That was a massive winning play in overtime. And it happens because Nikola hustles. It happens because he was doubling at the top and then had to show and recover 2 of Ivica Zubats. And Harden tries to thread the pass over Nikola. But hey, shocking surprise. Like, did not expect Nikola to be able to get back to that pass because Nikola very rarely moves at quicker than like a jog on the defensive end. And so the fact that he was able to get to that, it was massive. And just the hustle that he showed through basically second quarter onward was tremendous. And he was a fantastic defensively. I believe that with Nikola on, the Nuggets had about a 106, 107 defensive rating. And then the same about when he was off. Like, that's sick. That is a sick level of defense that the Nuggets were able to play in a playoff environment against a guy like Harden and against a guy like Kawhi, who should be able to take advantage of them in a lot of these ways. Jokic doing that and being able to get like into that show and recover phase, really, really impressive. 3 steals and a block in the game yesterday or on Saturday. It was a plus 10 in 46 minutes. Now, again, the big problem is that when Jokic is off the floor, it was Denver's offense that really betrayed them. They had a 60 offensive rating when Jokic was off the floor in about 7 minutes. And so when you have that, it's really, really difficult to win. Like, you just have to be able to keep pace with the opposing team. And there were some shots that they missed that they'll probably make. There were some turnovers that they committed that, kind of shaky. But I also know that the way that the Clippers run their rotation, they had Norman Powell and Kawhi Leonard out there, but they also had Nicholas Batum. They had Bogdan Bogdanovic, and they had Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons as their small ball 5. So they're switching everything. They're guarding, they're shrinking the floor, they are doing everything that they can. Denver needs Jamal Murray out there in those situations, in my opinion. That's something that the Clippers, I think, proved, that if Denver doesn't have Murray out there to kind of break down the defense, but also make some tough shots, they're going to be in a pretty tough spot. I'm curious to see how Porter continues to get used if he is not able to generate good shots for himself, if the team's not able to generate good shots for him. Is the team putting him in a really bad situation in this moment? I don't know. Royce asks, we need to play DJ with Jamal. Jamal needs a center. I'm not sure. I'm not sure entirely that he does. Like in the playoff, and like it is a good thought, and I don't want to. I don't want to demean it. But the problem that you run into with a team like the Clippers is they're just going to switch everything. So if you are like, if this is a center that you're talking about with DJ, Denver needs to be very much on point in how they handle what happens when Ben Simmons jumps out on Jamal Murray. Is that a good situation to be in? No, of course not. By the way, Ben Simmons would be an interesting nugget. He would be an interesting backup nugget, somebody who could play in the dunker spot role like Aaron Gordon with Jokic, but then also kind of play a Jokic-esque role on the second unit as a small ball five. Like something to think about in the offseason when Denver's trying to build the best possible team that they can. I think that when you're facing a switch all team, you have to hunt the right matchups. Murray can, if he gets to a Bogdan Bogdanovic or a Norman Powell or somebody like that, that's great. If he's consistently having to go one-on-one against Kawhi Leonard, Ben Simmons, Chris Dunn, Derek Jones Jr., kind of those types of players, it's not really a winning formula for him. And Denver needs to be able to come up with some other stuff. So it's why Aaron Gordon has to be better in the post. It's why Michael Porter, you would want to see him in that situation be a little bit better. It's why Russell Westbrook, when he's there, like, could he break down the defense and get to the paint and create an open shot for somebody? He did that for Jalen Pickett at one point. So I just think that Murray's going to have to seek out his matchups a little bit better. And they're going to have to come up with some ways to hit some slip cuts when the Clippers are when they're switching everything. Russ can be really good in that situation in terms of reading the defense and reading the slip and making sure that somebody like Aaron Gordon or Christian Brown, if he's out there, is getting that. But yeah, the non-Jokic offense is going to be big in this one. Like if Denver continues to have a 60 offensive rating, they're probably going to lose. That would be my first indication. In terms of what the Clippers are going to do, I think that the most important thing that they can do is get Norman Powell going. He had 12 points on 12 shots. He had 4 turnovers. I think he made 1 3, if I'm not mistaken. And it was the final 3 of the game. So Denver did a really good job against Norm. And I wrote about this. Like, I thought that the Michael Porter versus Norman Powell battle was going to be very interesting. Where those guys are each kind of the 4th best player, or how you would mostly evaluate the 4th best player on the team. Norm kind of taking a backseat to Kawhi Leonard, to James Harden in the second half of the season as those guys are getting more involved. If you can keep having Norman Powell in that 12 to 15 point range, you're going to be okay as a team. They're going to keep trying to get him out there. But if they can't get him scoring opportunities, the Clippers, they might have to go to a guy like Nicholas Batum a little bit more consistently for spacing, for switchability, for threes. Just like I really loved what Nicholas Batum did in that game on Saturday. He is such a playoff player. He's such a massively beneficial player to have for your system, and just somebody who knows exactly what to do. So if he is going to be out there, not necessarily a great situation for Denver, it's just a little bit different, and they have to find ways to attack that, to approach that. But Batum is very smart. So he's also older. He's a guy that if you continue to work really hard throughout a season, there's a reason why the Clippers weren't playing him as much during the regular season. They were saving him for the playoffs. So Batum played 24 minutes off the bench. Wouldn't surprise me if he plays even more. He was a +5, by the way. Batum led their team in plus minus, tied with Ben Simmons. So he is somebody that is very notable on both ends of the floor. Kawhi had 7 turnovers. The Clippers as a team had 20. That is not going to happen again. I would be shocked if it did. I just think that Denver is the more likely team to be turning the ball over on a consistent basis, just kind of the way that they play, how much passing there is. The Clippers are more isolation heavy, they're more pick and roll heavy. The Nuggets are trying to pass and cut, they're trying to do all the things, the motion offense. And when you get to more Jokic Murray two-man game, in theory, that should limit your turnovers. Like post ups, especially with Jokic, should limit your turnovers. You're limiting the number of decisions you are making and the number of passes you are making. So if Denver can limit their turnovers and keep winning that turnover battle against the Clippers, that's such a big deal. If they can't, again, they'll probably lose because I just don't think that the Nuggets are going to be able to outshoot the Clippers that often. The Clippers have a little bit better of a system to kind of take advantage of what the Nuggets defense is doing. And the Nuggets are like they're committing an uphill battle in this situation, trying to match up with what the Clippers are doing. So I'm curious to see whether Denver can be better than 9 of 27 from three. The Clippers were 12 of 33. It wasn't like they were crazy. They were 36%. If they shoot 40% in this game, they probably win. Also, if Denver doesn't win the free throw battle as much as they did 27-16, then they might lose the game, which gets me to this comment from earlier. How do we feel about Mark Davis reffing tonight? Not fantastic. Just straight up, not fantastic. That's not a good situation for Denver to be in. I'm clicking on the NBA official site trying to come up with who the other officials are in this game. But yeah, Denver has like this is kind of like how game 2 against the T-Wolves went last year. This one's going to be very physical. It's going to be a situation where the Nuggets are having to manage just how physical the game is. Davis is not going to call a lot of fouls. The Clippers are going to be able to get away with a lot. When Denver goes to the rim, it's going to feel sometimes like they are not able to do anything. And the Clippers are going to be able to get away with a lot of contact. So I'm curious to see whether, like, the best way to handle that, by the way, is just to shoot the basketball accurately and not turn the ball over and get a shot up on the rim and then get offensive rebounds. Like that's the easiest way to kind of get it done. Yeah, so actually here's an interesting balance. In this Clippers Nuggets game, Mark Davis is the crew chief, but Tyler Ford and Ed Malloy are the other two referees out there. Tyler Ford calls a lot of fouls. Like it's kind of an interesting balance, I would say, between those two. Mark Davis does not call a lot of fouls. He wants it to be physical. Tyler Ford does call fouls. Ed Malloy is also out there. He's a good official. It's not perfect all the time, but like he is somebody that you can talk to and is not going to tee you up that very easily. So it's gonna be interesting. Like this one's gonna be a battle. Even like in some ways different than how this last one was a battle. If Denver can stay attached, if they can stay connected, they'll be all right. So I'm curious to see what the mentality is for Denver. Can they be mentally tough in this situation? The Clippers are going to come with everything because if they go back to LA down 2-0, there's so much more pressure on them than there is on Denver. But if Denver goes there 1-1, they know they need to get one in LA. They know it. And so if Denver can get there 2-0, that would be a massive, massive deal. Okay. I don't have that much more. Anybody else have any other questions before I bounce? Going to be interesting tonight. This is going to be a very, very important game for obvious reasons. Every playoff game is important, but this one in particular, this is going to really pivot whether the Nuggets are they going to go deep into the playoffs or is this going to be a long series? Because I don't know if you guys saw on Sunday, the Thunder are not to be trifled with. They won by 50 against the Memphis Grizzlies. They're going to finish that series off in 4 or 5. Can Denver do something similar? Can they finish that series off in 5 games? That'd be crazy. Can they do it in 6? If it has to go 7, then like you're gassed. You're gassed at that point. You're going to be very, very tired. So Denver's going to have a lot to battle with. That's for sure. Comment here. Do you anticipate the Nuggets working MPJ early? I think they're going to try some things, but I also know that you can't force it if Kawhi Leonard is on him and you're trying to not involve Kawhi that much. The best way to deal with a Kawhi defense is to put him in the corner and have everybody else have to manage it. And Porter's got to be okay with that. If they cross match in transition and Porter finds himself being guarded by Norman Powell and James Harden, then Denver should be more aggressive in trying to get him some touches, trying to get him some threes, put him into a position where the Clippers have to make a choice and leave him open. If they have to make that choice, then Denver can get Porter involved and he can get some shots. I hope that they continue to try to work on those things today, especially early, because if you can get Porter a couple of looks and force the Clippers to guard him even tighter, that means great things for the other 4 guys on the floor. And that's how Porter has to take that mentality. So we'll see whether he can handle it. All right, everybody, that is going to do it for this episode of Pickaxe and Roll, brought to you by our good friends over at SCL Mortgage. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button on the way out. I will talk to you guys tomorrow.